Alex Carter was a name everyone in Los Angeles knew when it came to martial arts. At just 24 years old, Alex had made a name for himself as one of the top competitors in the world of Taekwondo. With lightning-fast kicks and an unbeatable winning streak, he had become the talk of every tournament he entered. But what really set Alex apart wasn't just his skill, it was his attitude. He carried himself with so much confidence that some people called it cockiness. Others simply admired his boldness. Every day after training, Alex would walk out of the gym feeling invincible. His sparring partner, Mia Lopez, often teased him about how full of himself he could be. "You know, Alex," she said one afternoon, while they stretched together, "one of these days someone's going to put you in your place." Alex chuckled at her comment. "Not gonna happen, Mia. I've trained too hard for too long. Nobody can touch me." Mia rolled her eyes but couldn't help, smiling. She'd known Alex since they were kids, and though his arrogance sometimes annoyed her, she also respected his dedication. Still, deep down, she wondered if all the praise and attention had gone to his head. That evening, Alex noticed something unusual during their practice session. In the far corner of the gym, away from the main area where most people trained, there was an older man working out quietly. He wore a simple white karate gi and moved with a kind of calm precision that caught Alex's eye. While everyone else in the gym seemed loud and energetic, this man exuded a different vibe, calm, focused, almost mysterious. Curious, Alex decided to investigate. Walking over to the man, he crossed his arms and smirked. "Hey, old-timer," he said, trying to sound casual but letting a hint of mockery slip into his voice. "What are you doing here? You look like you've seen some action. Ever competed?" The man stopped mid-motion and turned to face Alex. His eyes were sharp and steady, giving nothing away. "Once or twice," he replied calmly. Alex laughed, louder than necessary. "Well, I doubt you could keep up with me. I mean, who even trains in karate anymore? It's all about Taekwondo now. Faster, stronger, better." The man didn't respond right away. Instead, he studied Alex for a moment, as if sizing him up. Then, with a faint smile, he nodded and went back to his routine. For reasons Alex couldn't explain, this bothered him. Normally, people either agreed with him or argued back, but this guy just ignored him. It felt like a challenge even, though the man hadn't said anything confrontational. Later that night, as Alex drove home, he couldn't stop thinking about the encounter. Who did that guy think he was, acting so cool and collected? Did he really believe he was better than Alex? The more Alex thought about it, the angrier he got. By the time he pulled into his driveway, he had convinced himself that the man must have been some washed-up instructor who couldn't handle seeing younger talent surpass him. The next morning, Alex arrived at the gym earlier than usual. Sure enough, the man was already there, practicing alone again. This time, Alex approached him with more purpose. "Listen," Alex began, pointing a finger at the man. "I don't know who you are, but I've got a reputation to uphold. People come here expecting to see greatness, and frankly, you're distracting them from that." The man raised an eyebrow but remained silent. "So how about this?" Alex continued. "Let's settle things once and for all. A little match, just you and me. No rules, no nonsense, pure skill." Now the man looked amused. "Are you sure about that, son?" Alex bristled at being called son, but he forced himself to stay composed. "Absolutely, unless you're scared, to." Alex's surprise, the man smiled again. "All right then, let's do it." As word spread through the gym about the upcoming match, excitement grew. Some people sided with Alex, convinced that his speed and power would crush the older man. Others whispered among themselves, wondering if the stranger might actually have a few tricks up his sleeve. Mia, however, wasn't so sure. "Alex, are you sure about this?" she asked later that day. "Something about that guy feels off, like he knows something we don't." "Don't worry about it," Alex replied confidently. "It'll be fine. Besides, I need to teach him a lesson about underestimating me." But as the hours ticked by, Alex found himself growing uneasy. What if the man really was good? What if he lost? For the first time in a long time, Alex felt a flicker of doubt. Still, he pushed those thoughts aside. After all, he was Alex Carter, the rising star of Taekwondo. There was no way he'd let anyone take that away from him. When the day of the match finally arrived, the entire gym buzzed with anticipation. Spectators packed the space, eager to see whether Alex's flashy techniques would overpower the quiet mystery of the older man. As Alex stepped onto the mat, he glanced across at his opponent and felt a strange mix of nerves and determination. Whatever happened next, one thing was certain. This match would change everything, for both of them. The day of the match arrived and the gym was packed with people eager to see what would happen. Word had spread quickly about Alex Carter's challenge to the mysterious older man, and everyone wanted to witness it firsthand. Some came to cheer for Alex, confident that his speed and power would win the day. Others were curious about the quiet stranger who seemed unfazed by Alex's bravado. As Alex stepped onto the mat, he took a deep breath to steady himself. He glanced around at the crowd, spotting Mia near the front. She gave him a small nod, but her expression was unreadable. Was she worried or just focused? Either way, Alex pushed those thoughts aside. This was his moment, and he wasn't going to let anyone or anything get in his way. Across the mat stood the older man, still wearing his simple white karate gi. His posture was relaxed, almost casual, as if this were just another ordinary day. It irritated Alex. How could someone be so calm when facing him, the rising star of Taekwondo? "Ready?" asked the referee, a middle-aged instructor named Paul who often worked at the gym. Both fighters nodded, and the match began. From the very first second Alex launched into action, he darted forward, aiming a fast jab at the man's chest. To his frustration, the man sidestepped effortlessly, avoiding the strike without even breaking a sweat. Undeterred, Alex followed up with a spinning back kick, putting all his strength behind it. But again, the man moved just enough to dodge the blow, leaving Alex stumbling slightly as he regained his balance. "What's wrong, old-timer?" Alex taunted, trying to mask his growing irritation. "Too scared to fight back?" The man didn't respond. Instead, he watched Alex carefully, waiting for the next move. His calm demeanor only fueled Alex's anger further. Determined to prove himself, Alex unleashed a flurry of attacks, high kicks, low sweeps, spinning techniques, all designed to overwhelm his opponent. Each time, though, the man countered or avoided them with ease. Mia watched from the sidelines, her brow furrowed. She had seen Alex train countless times before and she knew how skilled he was. Yet something about this match felt different. The older man wasn't fighting back aggressively. Instead, he was using minimal movements to neutralize Alex's attacks. It was as if he were reading Alex's mind, predicting every move before it happened. Meanwhile, the crowd was buzzing with excitement. Some cheered loudly for Alex, urging him to keep going. Others whispered among themselves, marveling at the older man's composure. No one could quite figure out who had the upper hand yet. After several minutes of relentless offense, Alex started to feel the strain. His breathing grew heavier, and beads of sweat dripped down his face. Despite his best efforts, he hadn't landed a single solid hit. Frustration boiled over as he realized that his usual tactics weren't working. "You're not even trying," Alex shouted, hoping to rattle the man. "Is this some kind of joke to you?" Finally, the man spoke. "Patience, son," he said calmly. "Fighting isn't just about power, it's about timing." Before Alex could respond, the man made his first real move. As Alex lunged forward with another kick, the man stepped inside his guard, closing the distance between them. With a swift motion, he delivered a sharp palm strike to Alex's sternum. The force of the blow knocked Alex backward, causing him to stumble and nearly fall. For the first time in the match, Alex looked genuinely surprised. He recovered quickly, but his confidence had taken a hit. The crowd murmured in amazement, realizing they were witnessing something special. Determined to regain control, Alex switched strategies. Instead of rushing in recklessly, he began circling, the man looking for openings. He threw feints and quick jabs, testing the man's defenses. To his credit, the older fighter remained composed, blocking or dodging each attempt with precision. Then, in a burst of desperation, Alex executed one of his signature moves, a flying sidekick aimed directly at the man's head. The crowd gasped. As Alex soared through the air, his leg extended perfectly. For a split second, it seemed like he might finally land a decisive blow. But the man was ready. With incredible reflexes, he shifted slightly to the side, letting Alex sail past him harmlessly. As Alex landed awkwardly on the mat, the man spun around and delivered a clean back fist to his jaw. The impact sent Alex sprawling to the ground. Silence fell over the gym as everyone processed what had just happened. Alex lay there for a moment, stunned, his vision swimming. Slowly, he pushed himself up onto his hands and knees, then sat back on his heels. His pride stung more than his body did. "Well?" the older man asked gently, offering a hand to help Alex up. "Had enough?" Alex hesitated, his ego warring with reality. Finally, he accepted the man's hand and pulled himself to his feet. His face was flushed with embarrassment, but there was also a flicker of respect in his eyes. I don't understand," Alex admitted, shaking his head. "How did you do that? Who are you?" The man smiled faintly. "My name's Chuck Norris. Maybe you've heard of me." A collective gasp rippled through the crowd. Even Alex's jaw dropped in disbelief. Chuck Norris, the legendary martial artist, 6-time karate world champion, and action movie star, was standing right in front of him. And Alex had just challenged him to a fight. "Oh my God," Alex muttered, running a hand through his sweaty hair. "I'm such an idiot." Chuck chuckled softly. "Don't be too hard on yourself. You've got talent. You just need to learn when to use it and when to hold back." Alex nodded slowly, still processing everything. For the first time in years, he felt truly humbled. All his boasting, all his arrogance, it meant nothing now. What mattered was the lesson he'd just learned. True strength wasn't about showing off. It was about knowing your limits and respecting others. As the crowd erupted into applause, Alex turned to face them. He raised a hand to quiet them down, then looked directly at Chuck. "Thank you," he said sincerely. "I needed that." Chuck nodded, his expression warm but serious. "Remember this feeling, Alex. Use it to grow stronger, not just as a fighter, but as a person." With those words, the match ended. But for Alex, a new chapter was just beginning. Little did he know this encounter would change the course of his life forever. After the match, Alex couldn't stop thinking about what had happened. He replayed every moment in his mind. The missed kicks, the failed attacks, and most of all, that final blow that sent him crashing to the mat. It wasn't just the physical pain that lingered. It was the sting of humiliation. For years, he'd prided himself on being unbeatable, on being the best. But now, standing face to face with someone like Chuck Norris, he realized how much he still had to learn. That evening, after everyone else had left the gym, Alex stayed behind. He sat on the mat, staring at the spot where he'd fallen earlier. His mind raced with questions. How could he improve? What did he need to change? Was it even possible to reach the level of skill that Chuck possessed? Chuck noticed Alex sitting there alone and walked over quietly. Without saying a word, he lowered himself onto the mat across from Alex and waited patiently. "You okay?" Chuck asked, finally breaking the silence. Alex hesitated before answering. "I don't know," he admitted. "I guess I'm just embarrassed. I acted like such a jerk earlier. And then, when I lost..." He trailed off, shaking his head. Chuck nodded understandingly. "It's not easy to lose, especially when you're used to winning. But losing can teach you more than winning ever. Will if you let it." Alex looked up, meeting Chuck's steady gaze. "What do you mean?" "Well," Chuck explained, "when you win, you tend to focus on what you did right. When you lose, though, you have no choice but to look at what went wrong. That's where growth happens." Alex thought about this for a moment. It made sense, but it didn't make the experience any less painful. "So what should I do now?" he asked. "How do I get better?" Chuck smiled faintly. "First, you need to check your attitude. Confidence is good. It keeps you sharp. But arrogance gets in the way of learning. You've got raw talent, Alex. There's no denying that. But talent alone won't take you far unless you pair it with discipline and respect. Alex nodded slowly. He knew Chuck was right. All those times he'd mocked other styles or dismissed opponents as beneath him, they weren't signs of strength. They were signs of insecurity, of needing to prove himself constantly. What else? Alex prompted, eager to hear more. Second, Chuck continued, you need to understand the fundamentals. I saw a lot of flashy moves out there today, but technique matters more than flash. If your foundation isn't solid, everything else falls apart under pressure. This hit home for Alex. He'd always prioritized speed and power, relying on his natural athleticism to carry him through fights. But against Chuck, none of that had mattered. The older man's movements had been simple, yet effective, each one purposeful and precise. And third, Chuck added, never stop learning. Martial arts aren't just about fighting. They're about self-improvement. Every day is a chance to grow stronger, both physically and mentally. For the first time in a long while, Alex felt inspired instead of defeated. He realized that this moment wasn't the end of his journey. It was the beginning of something new. Over the next few weeks, Alex threw himself into training with renewed focus. Gone was the cocky showman who craved attention. In his place was a humble student, determined to master his craft. Under Chuck's guidance, he began relearning the basics. Stances, footwork, breathing techniques, all the things he'd overlooked in pursuit of flashy combos. Mia noticed the change immediately. Wow, Alex, she said during one of their sparring sessions. You seem different. Calmer somehow. I feel different, Alex replied with a small smile. I've been working on controlling my movements instead of just throwing punches and kicks blindly. Mia raised an eyebrow. Control? That doesn't sound like the Alex I know. He laughed softly. Yeah, well, maybe I needed a wake-up call. Losing to Chuck showed me how much I still have to learn. As the days turned into months, Alex's progress became undeniable. His strikes carried more precision, his defense grew tighter, and his overall presence on the mat exuded confidence. Without arrogance, even the other gym members started commenting on the transformation. One afternoon, while practicing forms alongside Chuck, Alex decided to ask a question that had been weighing on his mind. Hey, Chuck, he began cautiously. Why are you helping me? After everything I said to you that first day, I wouldn't blame you if you wanted nothing to do with me. Chuck paused mid-motion and turned to face Alex. Because everyone deserves a second chance, he said simply. When I was younger, I made plenty of mistakes too. People helped me along the way. And now it's my turn to pass that kindness forward. Alex swallowed hard, touched by the response. Thank you, he said sincerely. I won't forget this. Outside the gym, Alex's life began to reflect the changes he was making inside it. He started volunteering at local community centers, teaching kids basic martial arts skills. At first, he worried he wouldn't be patient enough to handle beginners, but he soon discovered that sharing his knowledge brought him joy. Watching his students improve gave him a sense of fulfillment he'd never experienced before. Meanwhile, Chuck continued to mentor Alex, pushing him to strive for excellence while reminding him to stay grounded. Their bond deepened over time, evolving from teacher and student into something closer to friends. One evening, as they wrapped up another session, Chuck placed a hand on Alex's shoulder. You've come a long way, son, he said proudly. Keep going and you'll surprise yourself with how far you can go. Alex smiled, feeling a surge of gratitude. I owe it all to you, Chuck. If it weren't for you, I'd probably still be running my mouth and getting nowhere. Chuck chuckled. Nah, you'd have figured it out eventually. I just sped things up a bit. Though Alex didn't realize it yet, these lessons would prepare him for challenges far greater than anything he'd faced before. Little did he know, his journey was only just beginning, and the road ahead would test not only his skills but also his character. But for now, he was content to keep learning one step at a time. Months had passed since Alex Carter's humbling defeat at the hands of Chuck Norris. Those months were filled with long hours of training, self-reflection, and growth, not just as a fighter, but as a person. Alex no longer walked into the gym with arrogance or a need to prove himself. Instead, he carried a quiet confidence, earned through sweat, patience, and countless repetitions of basic techniques. He was beginning to understand what Chuck meant when he said true strength came from humility. One day, as Alex practiced his forms alongside Mia, Chuck approached him with news that would test everything Alex had learned so far. "There's a big tournament coming up," Chuck said, handing Alex a flyer. "It's one of the most prestigious events in the country. I think you're ready." Alex looked at the flyer, feeling a mix of excitement and nerves. This wasn't just another local competition. It was a national-level event featuring some of the best martial artists in the world. Competing there meant stepping onto a much larger stage than anything Alex had experienced before. "Do you really think I'm ready?" Alex asked, glancing at Chuck. Despite all his progress, he still doubted whether he could measure up against elite opponents. "You won't know unless you try," Chuck replied firmly. "Besides, this isn't just about winning. It's about seeing how far you've come and figuring out where you want to go next." With Chuck's encouragement, Alex decided to enter the tournament. Over the following weeks, his training intensified. Every session became a lesson in precision, strategy, and mental toughness. Chuck emphasized the importance of staying calm under pressure, reminding Alex that panic could undo even the best prepared fighter. "You can't control what your opponent does," Chuck explained during one practice. "But you can control how you react. Stay focused, stay present, and trust your training." Mia also played a key role in Alex's preparation. As his sparring partner, she pushed him harder than ever, forcing him to adapt to unexpected moves and unpredictable styles. "If you want to win, you've got to be ready for anything," she told him after a particularly grueling session. "No shortcuts." The day of the tournament finally arrived, and Alex felt a strange mix of emotions as he stepped into the arena. The venue was massive, with rows of seats packed with spectators. Bright lights illuminated the polished wooden floor, and banners celebrating martial arts achievements hung from the ceiling. Judges sat at a table near the ring, watching closely as competitors warmed up. Alex spotted Chuck sitting in the front row, arms crossed and eyes fixed on him. Just seeing Chuck there gave Alex a sense of reassurance. He reminded himself of everything he'd learned. The fundamentals, the discipline, the respect for others. This wasn't just about proving himself. It was about honoring the journey that had brought him here. In the first round, Alex faced a younger opponent known for his aggressive style. The match started quickly, with both fighters exchanging rapid strikes. Alex stayed patient, using his footwork to maintain distance and waiting for the right moment to strike. When his opponent lunged forward with a reckless punch, Alex countered with a perfectly timed side kick, sending the other fighter stumbling backward. The crowd erupted in applause as the referee signaled the end of the round, declaring Alex the winner. As the tournament progressed, Alex advanced through each round with increasing confidence. His movements were fluid and controlled, every technique executed with purpose. Opponents who relied on brute force or flashy tricks found themselves outmatched by Alex's precision and composure. Even Mia, watching from the sidelines, couldn't help but grin. "He's doing it," she whispered to herself. "He's really doing it." By the time the finals rolled around, Alex was exhausted but determined. His final opponent was a seasoned veteran named Kyle, famous for his unorthodox fighting style and relentless energy. Kyle wasted no time going on the offensive, launching a barrage of kicks and punches designed to overwhelm Alex. For the first few minutes, Alex struggled to find an opening, forced to focus entirely on defense. Chuck watched anxiously from the stands, leaning forward slightly. He knew this was the toughest challenge Alex had faced yet, but instead of panicking, Alex took a deep breath and remembered Chuck's advice. "Stay calm. Trust your training." With renewed focus, Alex began analyzing Kyle's movements. He noticed patterns in Kyle's attacks, small tells that revealed when he was about to strike. Using this knowledge, Alex adjusted his strategy, countering each attack with calculated precision. When Kyle threw a spinning back kick, Alex ducked under it and delivered a sharp front kick to Kyle's midsection, momentarily stunning him. The crowd roared as the two fighters exchanged blows, neither willing to give up. Finally, with seconds left on the clock, Alex saw his chance. As Kyle charged forward with a powerful punch, Alex sidestepped and landed a clean, spinning hook kick to Kyle's head. The impact sent Kyle crashing to the mat, and the referee immediately called the match. Cheers erupted throughout the arena as Alex stood victorious, his chest heaving from exertion. He raised his hands in triumph, but his eyes immediately sought out Chuck in the crowd. Catching sight of his mentor, Alex nodded in gratitude, knowing none of this would have been possible without him. After the award ceremony, Alex joined Chuck and Mia outside the arena. A gold medal hung around his neck, shining brightly in the sunlight. For once, Alex didn't feel the need to boast or show off. Instead, he simply smiled, savoring the moment. "I did it," Alex said quietly, looking at Chuck. "But I couldn't have done it without you." Chuck placed a hand on Alex's shoulder. "You earned this, son. Every drop of sweat, every hour of practice. It all led to this." "Be proud of yourself," Mia chimed in, hugging Alex tightly. "I always knew you had it in you. You just needed to believe it too." As they stood there together, Alex realized something important. Winning the tournament wasn't the end of his journey. It was just another step along the way. There would always be more challenges, more lessons to learn, and more ways to grow. But for now, he was content knowing he had given his best effort and honored the values Chuck had taught him. Looking ahead, Alex knew his story was far from over. With Chuck's guidance and his own determination, he was ready to face whatever came next. Winning the tournament was a turning point for Alex Carter. It wasn't just about the trophy or the gold medal hanging around his neck. It was about the person he had become along the way. For so long, Alex had chased victories to prove himself to others, but now, standing on that podium, he realized the true value of his journey. He hadn't won because he was faster or stronger than everyone else. He had won because he had learned patience, discipline, and humility. As the applause echoed through the arena, Alex scanned the crowd until his eyes landed on Chuck Norris. The older man stood near the front row, his arms crossed and a proud smile on his face. Alex raised the medal high in Chuck's direction, silently thanking him for everything he had done. Without Chuck's guidance, Alex knew he wouldn't be where he was today. After the ceremony, Alex joined Chuck and Mia outside the arena. The cool evening air felt refreshing after hours spent under the bright lights of the competition hall. Alex still wore his Taekwondo uniform, though it was slightly disheveled from the intense matches. Despite his exhaustion, he couldn't stop smiling. "I can't believe I actually did it," Alex said, shaking his head in disbelief. "It feels surreal." "You earned it," Mia replied, giving him a playful punch on the arm. "All those early mornings and late nights paid off. You've come such a long way." Chuck nodded in agreement. "This is just the beginning, Alex. Winning one tournament doesn't mean you've reached the top. There's always more to learn, more challenges to face, but tonight, enjoy this moment. You deserve it." Alex took Chuck's words to heart. He knew there would be tougher opponents and bigger stages in the future, but for now, he allowed himself to celebrate the hard work and sacrifices that had brought him here. As they walked back to the parking lot, Alex reflected on how much his life had changed since meeting Chuck. In the weeks that followed, Alex threw himself into teaching at the community center. Sharing his knowledge with kids gave him a new sense of purpose. He remembered what Chuck had told him. Martial arts weren't just about fighting, they were about self-improvement and helping others grow. Alex wanted to pass that lesson on to the next generation. One Saturday morning, Alex arrived at the community center to find a group of eager children waiting for him. They ranged in age from 6 to 12, each wearing borrowed uniforms that were either too big or too small. Some bounced excitedly on their toes while others looked nervous, unsure of what to expect. "All right, everyone," Alex called out, clapping his hands to get their attention. "Let's start with something simple. Show me your best stance." The kids scrambled to mimic the posture Alex demonstrated. Most of them wobbled awkwardly, giggling when they lost their balance. But Alex didn't mind. He moved among them, adjusting their stances and offering encouragement. "Good job, keep your back straight," he said to one boy. "Perfect, you're doing great," he told a shy girl who barely came up to his waist. Watching from a distance, Chuck smiled. He had stopped by the community center to check on Alex's progress and was impressed by what he saw. Alex wasn't just teaching techniques. He was instilling values like respect, perseverance, and teamwork. It reminded Chuck of his own early days as a teacher, when he had first started mentoring young fighters. Later that afternoon, after the class ended, Chuck approached Alex. "You're good with them," he said approvingly. "They look up to you." Alex shrugged modestly. "I just want them to have fun while they learn. Martial arts helped me find my way. Maybe it can do the same for them." Chuck nodded thoughtfully. "You're making a difference, Alex. That's what matters most." As the months went by, Alex continued balancing his training with teaching. His reputation grew beyond the gym, and soon he was invited to speak at local schools and events about the importance of discipline and goal setting. People admired not only his skill but also his character. The cocky showman who once strutted into the gym mocking others was gone, replaced by a humble and grounded individual who inspired those around him. One evening, as Alex and Chuck practiced together, Chuck decided to share a story from his own past. "When I was your age," he began, "I made plenty of mistakes. I thought I knew everything, but life has a way of humbling you. What matters isn't falling down, it's getting back up and learning from it." Alex listened intently, realizing how similar their journeys had been. "I guess we all need someone to guide us when we're lost," he said. "That's why I'm trying to be that person for these kids. If I can help even one of them avoid the mistakes I made, it'll be worth it." Chuck smiled warmly. "You're already doing that, Alex. Keep going, and you'll leave a legacy far greater than any title or medal." Despite his success, Alex never forgot the lessons he had learned. He trained harder than ever, constantly striving to improve. At the same time, he remained grounded, always remembering the people who had supported him along the way, especially Chuck. One day, as Alex was preparing for another major tournament, Chuck pulled him aside. "This one's going to be tough," Chuck warned. "Your opponent is known for being unpredictable. Don't let him throw you off balance." Alex nodded, taking the advice to heart. He spent extra hours practicing defensive techniques, focusing on staying calm under pressure. When the day of the match arrived, Alex stepped onto the mat with a clear mind and a steady heartbeat. The fight was intense, pushing Alex to his limits. His opponent used every trick in the book, trying to rattle him with flashy moves and sudden bursts of speed. But Alex stayed focused, trusting his training and instincts. In the end, it was his composure and precision that won the match, earning him another victory. As Alex stood on the podium once again, he glanced at Chuck in the crowd. Their eyes met, and Alex gave a small nod of gratitude. He knew he wouldn't have made it this far without Chuck's wisdom and support. Looking ahead, Alex felt ready for whatever challenges lay ahead. With Chuck's mentorship and his own determination, he was prepared to continue growing, not just as a fighter, but as a person. His journey was far from over, but for now he was content knowing he was on the right path. Years had passed since Alex Carter's first humbling encounter with Chuck Norris. What began as a reckless challenge in a local gym had transformed into a journey of growth, discipline, and self-discovery. Alex was no longer the brash young fighter who relied on speed and arrogance to win matches. He had become a role model, a skilled martial artist respected not only for his talent, but also for his character. By now, Alex had competed in numerous tournaments, earning victories, and occasionally facing defeat. Each experience taught him something new, reinforcing the lessons Chuck had instilled in him: humility, patience, and respect. But beyond the trophies and accolades, Alex found the greatest fulfillment in giving back to others. Teaching at the community center had become one of the most rewarding parts of his life. Watching his students grow stronger, more confident, and more disciplined reminded him of his own journey. One evening, after a long day of training, Alex sat with Chuck in the corner of the gym. The room was quiet except for the faint hum of fluorescent lights overhead. They often spent time like this, reflecting on their progress and sharing stories. Tonight, however, Chuck seemed unusually thoughtful. "You've come a long way, Alex," Chuck said finally, breaking the silence. "I'm proud of everything you've accomplished." Alex smiled, feeling a warmth spread through his chest. "I couldn't have done it without you, Chuck. You didn't just teach me how to fight, you taught me how to live." Chuck chuckled, softly. "I just pointed you in the right direction. The hard work was all yours." Alex shook his head. "No, it wasn't just pointing. You believed in me when I didn't believe in myself. That made all the difference." For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then Chuck leaned forward slightly, his tone serious but kind. "There's something I want you to think about. You've reached a point where you don't need me anymore, at least not in the same way. It's time for you to step out on your own and see where your path leads." Alex frowned, surprised by Chuck's words. "What do you mean? Are you saying you're stepping back?" "I'm saying you're ready," Chuck replied firmly. "You've learned everything I can teach you. Now it's up to you to take those lessons and build something greater. Maybe start your own dojo or travel and learn from other masters. The world is full of opportunities if you're willing to seize them." The idea of moving forward without Chuck felt daunting, but Alex understood what he meant. Chuck had always encouraged him to grow beyond his comfort zone, and this was no different. Still, the thought of leaving behind the mentor who had changed his life left a bittersweet ache in his heart. "I'll miss having you around," Alex admitted quietly. "But I know you're right. It's time for me to figure things out on my own." Chuck nodded approvingly. "And remember, I'll always be here if you need advice. This isn't goodbye, it's just the next chapter." Over the following weeks, Alex began making plans for the future. He decided to open his own martial arts school, combining elements of Taekwondo and karate while emphasizing values like respect, perseverance, and humility. He wanted to create a space where people of all ages could learn not just how to fight, but how to become better versions of themselves. With Chuck's blessing, Alex rented a small building near the community center and set to work, transforming it into a dojo. Mia helped him paint the walls and assemble equipment, while Chuck offered guidance on designing the curriculum. Together, they created a welcoming environment that reflected Alex's vision. On the grand opening day, Alex stood outside the dojo, nervously adjusting his uniform as families trickled in. Children ran ahead excitedly, while parents lingered, cautiously, unsure what to expect. Alex greeted each person warmly, introducing himself and explaining the philosophy behind his school. Inside, posters lined the walls, showcasing famous martial artists alongside quotes about discipline and resilience. A large banner hung above the main training area, bearing the words, "Strength through humility." As Alex led the first class, he felt a surge of pride knowing he was carrying forward the legacy Chuck had entrusted to him. Word of Alex's dojo spread quickly, attracting students from all walks of life. Some came seeking self-defense skills, while others were drawn to the sense of community Alex fostered. Parents appreciated the emphasis on character development, and kids loved the energy and fun Alex brought to every session. Despite his growing responsibilities, Alex never stopped learning. He traveled occasionally to train under other masters, expanding his knowledge and refining his techniques. During one such trip, he visited Japan, immersing himself in the traditions of Shotokan karate. The experience deepened his appreciation for martial arts as both a physical and spiritual practice. Back home, Alex continued mentoring his own students, many of whom went on to achieve success in competitions. One of them, a shy teenager named Lucas, reminded Alex of himself years ago, talented but insecure. Under Alex's guidance, Lucas blossomed into a confident and skilled fighter, eventually winning a regional championship. Seeing Lucas stand on the podium, metal gleaming around his neck filled Alex with immense pride. Through it all, Alex stayed connected to Chuck, visiting him regularly to share updates and seek advice. Their relationship evolved from teacher and student to friends and equals. Chuck attended special events at the dojo, offering words of encouragement to Alex's students and sharing stories from his own career. One afternoon, as they trained, together in the gym where their journey had begun, Alex paused mid-session to look at Chuck. "Do you ever think about how far we've come?" he asked. Chuck smiled, wiping sweat from his brow. All the time. And you know what? I'm glad I got to be part of your story. You've grown into someone I truly admire. Alex felt a lump rise in his throat. Thank you, Chuck. For everything. I wouldn't be here without you. Chuck clapped him on the shoulder. You earned it, son. Never forget that. As they resumed their practice, Alex reflected on how much his life had changed since that fateful day in the gym. From a cocky young fighter to a humble teacher and mentor, he had discovered that true strength wasn't about dominance. It was about connection, growth, and giving back. Looking ahead, Alex knew there would always be challenges to face and lessons to learn. But with the foundation Chuck had given him, he felt ready to tackle whatever came next. His journey was far from over, but he was content knowing he was walking the right path, one marked by humility, gratitude, and purpose.